Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel's an alternate format that brings Yu-Gi-Oh! Back to its roots and resets the card pool with brand new monsters, spells, and traps while keeping things going at a faster pace. We don't have it physically in the TCG, only in digital formats. But even though it looks like a type of dueling that leaves the Yu-Gi boomers in the dust to normal summon infinite times per turn, there are a bunch of classic cards that return verbatim. Often these are legend cards, which are restricted to one of each type per deck, and every single one of them has brand new artwork. Some are basically the same, maintaining the original pose, but a few really stand out. So that's what I'm discussing today, some of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel glow-ups. Realistically, the entire Rush Duel card format as a whole is a glow-up from the original, with how the card border looks more sleek, fitting the aesthetic that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been using from 5Ds onward, while making the cards a lot clearer and more understandable, combining all of the level stars into a single readable number and moving them to the center of the card along with the attack and defense values, now in bold font. This allows the artwork of the card to stand out and be printed even bigger. I own a few Rush Duel cards because I bought a Japanese physical copy of the video game, and I've gotta be honest, I wish the Master Duel cards looked like this. But let's go ahead and get onto the artwork of each card, and what better place to start than the Dark Magician Girl that I own. This one has roughly the same pose as the original artwork, but instead of being all zoomed in, it pulls out so that you could see more of her iconic qualities like the staff and the outfit in its entirety. There is another Dark Magician Girl that resembles the other artwork, but I like that this one is able to enhance this version.
I told you I was gonna win this duel, and it's all thanks to you, Dark Magician Girl.
After that, might as well move on to Dark Magician. It keeps just about the same pose, but now with the more modern card direction the archetype has gone with. That hand used to look a bit wonky. I do like that the new artwork shows his hair a lot better and the background is more dynamic. Though these are pretty close, I feel like you could take or leave one or the other. There are some other smaller monsters that kind of just have clearer artwork, and I won't go too into detail on most of them, but I will say that I really like Luster Dragon's new look because it now has all these really beautiful textures that resemble the gems described in the flavor text. But then we've got the trifecta of big iconic dragons, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Red Eyes Black Dragon, and Leviathan Dragon Daedalus. Okay, that one just kind of has some art looking pretty similar to its original, but Red Eyes has a lot more lighting put in that allows you to see the definition of its body. Blue Eyes is very different. Sure, it's the iconic Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon pose, but rather than being concerned with accurately translating the manga card image, this one attempts to portray Blue Eyes with proportions consistent with its other portrayals, though there's something about it that feels a bit odd. I bet you're wondering why I included all these monsters together. Well, it's because with the updated card layout that Rush Duels use, sometimes they print cards that have monsters art extended beyond the borders, and these dragons were lucky enough to burst onto the scene with some of the most amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards I've ever seen. I think Red Eyes looks the least impressive, but it's still phenomenal with how it's charging up Inferno Fire Blast. The Blue Eyes is great. This one uses a pose like the original one from the starter deck Kaiba Evolution printing, with its wings fanning out and some anime action lines to make it epic. However, Leviathan Dragon Daedalus has the biggest glow up out of any of these monsters. I think the old pose was fine, showing the winding body in full, but having it now come straight toward the viewer with the rest of its body obscured by waves is so dynamic, especially with how it plays with the card border. It really makes me appreciate this monster even more. But monsters aren't the only classic cards being translated into Rush Duels, there are spells and traps as well. First is Graceful Charity, and while I think the original is great, a lot of older Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards had some human-like characters that came off as a bit weird. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, especially because it gave a distinct personality to early Yu-Gi-Oh! But I just find it kind of neat that these cards are reimagined with the modern aesthetic in mind. Again, it comes down to personal preference. I do like how the newer art shows the angel's face more clearly, and her hair looks even more messed up, I guess, emphasizing whatever desperate situation she's in that makes drawing cards so important. I find Pot of Avarice's new art a bit curious. For the most part, it isn't really too different, the main change is the angle, but I feel like that was done to better show that this is an actual ceramic pot because of how busy the design is and how animated the face appears. I don't really have any thoughts either way, this thing is still ugly. Upstart Goblin has almost a complete makeover while keeping the same core concept. The old artwork had the same thing going on that I mentioned with Graceful Charity to a degree, but it's more severe with this spell card. At a distance, it was kind of difficult to tell what exactly was going on in this image. My friends and I would always make immature jokes about it, but now it's very apparent that this is depicting a wealthy goblin giving a loan to a very poor unfortunate soul. I love the goblin's facial expression here. It more effectively shows how he's either got some ulterior motives, or how he's feeding his ego acting as this man's savior. The last card I want to bring up is Trap Hole. The main difference here is that the shape of the monster trapped inside side, it's meant to now resemble the monster depicted in other Trap Hole cards for the sake of consistency. Yeah, that's basically it, I just like how it all ties together. Well, those were just some of the cards that have been reimagined in Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duels. I would love it if we could eventually get these printed and distributed worldwide, but I'd be totally fine with ordering Japanese copies because some of these are just amazing. Again, I don't mean to bash the original art because they're both effective at what they do, but I think that with a game that's been around for so long and that's been able to evolve a bit while reiterating the original cards that came first, it does a great job at keeping both of them relevant in their different formats. Then again, I would be all for that newer card layout to be brought over to both the OCG and TCG, please, it just looks so clean. So let me know which Yu-Gi-Oh card glow-ups you like the best and what you think about Rush Duels. Anyway, this is GatorX, thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you all later.